In our time in Korea, we learned a lot of things, and with that, we learned a lot of things that we should not be doing.
장기 여행의 가장 큰 묘미는 무엇일까요? 여행 초기에는 생소하게 느껴지던 것들이 어느 순간 익숙해지고 낯설기만 하던 문화와 언어가 어쩐지 친밀하게 느껴지는 순간이 아닐까요? 미국에서 온 여행자 제이콥과 제니는 벌써 몇 주째 한국에 머무르면서 한국에 대해 점점 더 알아가고 있습니다. 여행을 마무리하기 전 두 사람이 소식을 전해왔는데요. 오늘은 제이콥과 제니가 외국인들이 한국에서 하지 말아야 할 5가지 일에 대해 말합니다. 전부 맞는 이야기인지 영상을 통해 함께 살펴보시겠어요?
Korea is probably one of the most interesting, if not the most interesting place we have ever been. And it is our 30th country, so we're pretty well traveled.
I would say the first thing that you should not do is drink the tap water. Everybody tells you not to drink it. The locals, the people at the hotels, when we ask them questions, they're all said, do not drink the tap water.
Appalled that we even asked. They were like, no, why would you even ask? Gross. They thought it was gross.
But it is so interesting because right before we traveled to Korea, we looked it up on our phones and they said that over the past 10 years, the government has done a lot of work to repair and replace the pipes for the drinking water in the sinks. And everything that we read said that the water's completely fine, but I guess it does make sense. If your water hasn't been the cleanest to drink for a long time, you would just naturally not want to drink that water. So we think that the water is safe to drink. We've been brushing our teeth with the sink water every single day, but the local people will probably tell you do not drink it.
But if we're being honest, I drank it a few times. I did boil it first because they always have water boilers in your room. I drank it quite a number of times and we never got sick. And this kind of leads into our next point of don't expect things to be what you think that they are in Korea. We read online yes, you're gonna be able to drink this tap water, and then as soon as we get here, everyone tells us not to. We experienced a lot of things like this while we were in Korea. A restaurant says it closes at 10 p.m. It actually closes at 8 p.m.
Well, and that just goes into the whole cultural understanding that we don't really know just because obviously we don't live in Korea. We just traveled here for a few weeks. There was one time where we were trying to order room service after a long day and it was around 11 p.m. and we were perfect. It does say that we can get room service until midnight. And so we decided to call and we're hey, these are the two things that we want. And they're oh, we don't actually have room service right now. We closed at 10 o'clock. It's just weird because the booklet in our room said that it was open till midnight.
I know that this sounds you're that's stupid. Why would you be mad about that? That's the smallest thing ever. And yes, you would be right. But it happened to us probably 3 to 4 times every single day. We thought that something was a certain way, and then it turns out it is completely different.
Very little things that are just kind of little culture shocks to us. We're just I don't really know what's happening, but everybody else does.
Yeah.
And so it's just you just really have to go with the flow here in Korea and don't get too upset when things don't go your way.
Something that was incredibly nice about Korea, and this leads into one of our points, is that the people were just so extremely nice and helpful. Every person that we talked to here was one of the nicest people that we've ever met. People helped us when we looked like we were struggling, and that's just in their culture to just go above and beyond for anyone who needs help, who they're serving, which means that when you're in restaurants, we didn't have to tip because they're just expected to give the best service that they can, and they're just so nice. They really are. Thank you. If you're watching this and you're from Korea, thank you for just being so kind.
Even the people that didn't really speak any English and we don't really know Korean at all. And so even the people that didn't speak our language, they were still trying to help us out. When we were trying to maybe order something in a restaurant, they were still trying to figure out exactly what we wanted.
Yeah.
And so yes,
They were so nice.
one thing is do not tip in restaurants because even they might feel like offended, like, you don't need to tip me. Why are you trying to give me extra money? And also another thing to not do is do not expect that everybody's going to know English. Of course, that's definitely not a bad thing. You're going into their country.
We should have known Korean. Like, it's our fault.
Yeah, so it's just like, you just can't expect that they're going to know your language. So at least try to learn a few phrases at least. Another thing to not do not use Google Maps. Google Maps doesn't work in Korea. For whatever reason, I don't know why, I haven't done a lot of research into it, but the driving directions and the walking directions are just unavailable. And so that was How Map. I hope I'm pronouncing that correctly. It's the same company that does most of the taxi services here in Korea, and they have their own mapping system. I tried it out a little bit, but that was just only a few days ago. That was definitely challenging trying to get places.
But we figured out that you should just take taxis because I don't know how this works. Everything in Korea is like moderately expensive. Like, it's definitely not a cheap place. I would say it's pretty comparable to the United States with like food prices and everything. But somehow there's like a loophole where taxis are incredibly cheap.
Yeah.
So you don't really need to worry about Google Maps. You should just take taxis everywhere. Trains were pretty easy though, I will say. We took a bullet train from Seoul to Busan, and that was relatively easy and fun. Really, it was fun. If you watch our Korean videos, you will know that we went to Seoul, Busan, and Jeju Island. Jeju Island is incredible. So this point is, don't just go to the big cities. Like, get out in nature. It's like, Korean nature is beautiful, like breathtakingly, amazingly gorgeous, and I think you would really be missing out on it if you didn't go to Jeju Island or try to find like another small little place to go to, because the things that we saw, it was amazing.
Yeah, when we went from Seoul to Busan, just another point, like we just saw like trees just so bright green. We were like so happy to be there. But the only thing is that we went from Seoul, a huge city, to Busan, also another big city. And so we were just like, I don't know, like I don't think it's necessary to go to two huge cities. You can probably just go to one of the big cities and then just try to find some nature. Just because there's millions and millions of people in that city doesn't mean you have to go visit. You can just, the nature. Just go out and find something. We have a view of the ocean right now from our room, and we're just enjoying it so much, just being able to stare at the mountains.
But if you live in Korea, I'm sure these are all very normal things to you, and you're like, yeah, that makes sense. And I'm sure if we stayed here for, a while longer, then these things would make sense to us too. If you have been watching our Korean videos, we just appreciate you guys so much, and we just love every single one of you, truly, from the bottom of our hearts. Like, we would not be here without you. We would not be doing this without you. We just appreciate and love you guys to the ends of the earth. So thank you, and we...
제이콥과 제니 이야기에 모두 동의하시나요? 무엇보다도 언어도 문화도 전혀 다른 나라에서 적응하기 위해 노력하는 두 사람의 모습이 참 예뻐 보이는데요. 사실 여행하기 전에 아무리 인터넷으로 공부한다 하더라도 실수하기 마련이고 예상과는 다른 일이 펼쳐지는 것도 부지기수죠. 그러나 이런 시행착오가 쌓여 더욱 노련해지고 즐거운 여행이 되는 것 아닐까요? 제이콥과 제니의 흥미진진한 한국 여행기는 아래 고정 댓글 링크를 통해 만나보실 수 있으니 참고해주세요. 오늘 이야기도 재밌게 보셨다면 좋아요와 구독 부탁드리겠습니다. 감사합니다.